A few weeks ago, I went to Creator Clash 2 in Tampa, Florida. It was pretty great. Afterwards, I tried to explain to one of my non-YouTuber friends who all was there, and it went something like this. iDubbbz, Anita, Ian from Smosh, Markiplier, Harley from Epic Mealtime were all there. Froggy Fresh, Keemstar, and Sam Hyde were not obviously there. Abelina Sabrina was there, but Gus Johnson and his group of friends were obviously not there. However, Jakey and Eddie Burback were there. AB from H3H3 was there, but not Ethan for some reason. Obviously, the Paul brothers were not there, and of course, Amaranth was there.
Wait, I know her.
The truth is, YouTube subculture is a confusing mess, and in this video, I'm going to explain every major YouTube subculture and the events that led up to the epic conclusion, which was Creator Clash 2. Or at the very least, I want to explain the most important parts of YouTube subculture over the last few years. I want to create something for people like me to send friends so they can somewhat understand this massively ever-changing and confusing landscape. Plus, I want to explain why this problem exists in the first place, how Creator Clash exemplified the problem significantly, and cover what we can do as content creators and or fans to fix this confusing mess. YouTube, where you can go from watching a tutorial on how to tie a tie to Six Flags zombie audition tapes from 2015 in just one click.
Get down to the left! Private, I said keep your head down!
It's like a digital rabbit hole where productivity goes to die and entertainment thrives. But how did this amazing wonderland come to be? Well, let's go back in time. In the mystical year of 2005, 3 former PayPal employees decided to create a platform that would change the world forever. Little did they know that their creation would become one of the most influential and controversial spaces on the internet. From the early days of shaky cam videos and lip syncing to the modern era of influencers and content creators, YouTube has come a long way. With over 2 billion active users and more than 1 billion hours of video watched daily, it has become a cultural phenomenon with its own set of subcultures that are as diverse as they are entertaining. A YouTube subculture is a unique community of creators and fans who share a common interest, passion, or style of content. From beauty gurus to commentators, from gamers to ASMR artists, these subcultures have their own languages, codes, and customs that set them apart from the rest on the platform. They're like kingdoms within a vast empire, each with its own rulers, warriors, and followers. And just like in any kingdom, there can be conflicts, alliances, and betrayals. I mentioned betrayals because while YouTube subcultures may seem like cohesive communities, they're not immune to internal conflicts. Subcultures may clash over different ideologies, values, or even personalities. These conflicts can be particularly intense because they often involve not only YouTubers themselves, but also their fans and the broader subculture. Fans may feel they have to choose sides, creating a sense of tribalism and thus heightening the conflict. Furthermore, feuds may create a confusing atmosphere that harms YouTube's reputation and leaves people and the average viewer feeling uncomfortable or disappointed. Which is one of the main criticisms of YouTubers and influencers today, is that they promote a culture of superficiality and materialism. Audiences don't get the scope of situations and are often left to pick fragments of the truth to develop their own opinions. For example, with traditional media, like in the hit show Breaking Bad, as a viewer we witnessed a full story arc of Walter White in front of our eyes. We saw his struggles, the impact that his decisions had on his family, and as a viewer, we were able to see his whole story come to an end.
First of all, I think anyone who has an opinion on it has as valid an opinion as I do. And I'm not just passing the buck when I say that. This show is yours at this point as much as it is ours, and you own it as much as we do.
Sure, there are some things Vince Gilligan leaves up to the viewers at the end of the day, but we understand this is fiction. YouTube and social media as a whole blurs the line between what is real and what is not. Like traditional media, we become attached to characters, root for them, cry for them, and sometimes even fight for them. But instead of them being fictional, these characters are real people. They're real. It's like if in Breaking Bad, the characters of the show were able to react live with the audience. It's incredible, scary, and the exact reason why I'm creating this video. And yes, live performances exist. Just go to Broadway. There are many shows that incorporate audience involvement in some way or another. But when the show ends, the show ends. YouTube never ends. When a creator uploads and finishes a video, thousands of people are still very much involved. Or when a creator live streams, they are reacting in real time. This creates a weird parasocial relationship that humankind has never experienced until now. Smosh is a popular sketch comedy YouTube channel that was created by childhood friends Ian Hecox and Anthony Padilla in 2005. Initially, they gained popularity through their humorous lip-sync videos, parodies of video games, and unique comedy sketches.
Shut up!
Smosh is one of the most iconic YouTube channels of all time. Chances are, if you're in between the ages of 20 to 30, you definitely know who Smosh is.
Two teenagers have become known worldwide after a silly idea turned into a smash hit on the internet.
One of the most popular YouTube channels. This is called Smosh, and it's run by a couple guys here in Sacramento.
Many things can be said about their success, but something not often talked about enough is that they created one of the earliest YouTube subcultures. Ian and Anthony developed an iconic following, which transcended YouTube. There was memes, meetups, and even music, which elevated Smosh to online celebrity status. If you met somebody at school who liked Smosh, chances are you would become friends because of Smosh's unique and strong fandom. Nothing like this ever existed, where you'd watch something online, go into school, and talk about it, and you could make jokes, memes, and references all throughout the day about that type of content. It was a really unique time, and for that reason, again, Smosh has created one of the most unique YouTube subcultures, probably of all time. Now, in 2011, Anthony and Ian sold ownership of their YouTube venture to Defy Media. With Defy, the duo maintained success, but with many success stories featured in this video, things don't always work out as they plan. 12 years after the creation of Smosh, Anthony Padilla announced on his YouTube channel that he was leaving Smosh. He cited Defy's media involvement as a hindrance to his creativity.
I need to feel that happiness again. I need to be doing what makes me happiest to wake up each morning. Right now, that's for me to do things on my own again with complete creative freedom, to be able to make whatever I want, whenever I want.
In his announcements, he expressed his desire to create content independently, with the freedom to fully express himself. Despite his departure, he promised to continue making videos consistently for his fans. Smosh, on the other hand, continued to create content with new actors. This, to me, is probably the first ever massive YouTube subculture schism. At the time, many people either supported Anthony, Ian, or just lost interest in both of them altogether. Many fans, including popular YouTubers, were emotional, varying between offering support to Anthony and criticizing him and Smosh, or being sad, angry, happy, or neutral towards the sudden major change to both Smosh and Anthony's positions. The crazy thing, which no one ever talks about, is the fact Ian and Anthony are still friends. In fact, the two still follow each other on Instagram, and Anthony throughout the years has repeated his original statements, and yet at that time, so many people were critical of his decision, and we saw a massive ripple of fan bases and subcultures. I know personally I preferred the original version and style of Smosh. The smaller, more intimate sketches made the duo, to me, a little bit more relatable. Regardless of the split now, Smosh has grown larger, left Defy Media, and Anthony has a massive channel under his name. The departure of Anthony from Smosh, after 12 years of creating content together, was and is confusing for many fans and viewers. Fans who had grown up watching the duo's videos and developed an attachment to both of them may have found it hard to reconcile the split. Furthermore, the fact that Anthony left due to Defy Media's involvement makes you wonder, once Smosh and Defy were no longer attached to each other, why didn't Anthony rejoin Smosh? We can assume Anthony and Ian are happy with both the directions their YouTube careers have taken, but that doesn't stop fans from wondering what if and what could have been. Probably the best example of a YouTube subculture is H3H3 and the H3H3 Nation. Back in 2013, Ethan and his wife, Hila, created a channel which consisted of reaction videos where they would watch and comment on cringeworthy videos that they found on the internet. The couple quickly gained a following for their humorous and irrelevant commentary, and eventually launched their own podcast.
Wow, Ethan, great moves. Keep it up. Proud of you.
Members of their fan base often refer to themselves as H3H3 Nation, and they even have their own unique language. For example, fans of H3H3 often use the phrase Papa Bless as a way of showing their support to other members of the community or the channel itself. They also have their own memes and inside jokes that are known only to those people who are part of the H3H3 microculture, fueled by an extremely active subreddit.
He has no pizza experience. He's never been in the pizza category. I love pizza and I love people. Pizza is actually very nutritious.
If you've been to a homecoming or prom over the last 5 to 10 years, you've probably seen an H3H3 member doing the Vape Nation symbol in the crowd. So yes, this YouTube subculture is massive and extends not just online media, but traditional media and traditional culture as well. H3H3, specifically Ethan Klein, has been involved in several controversies over the years. While some of these controversies have been minor and quickly forgotten, others have been a little bit more significant and have had a lasting impact on H3H3's reputation, career, and retrospective subculture. From dropping a racial slur multiple times on his podcast, to posting extremely controversial things on Twitter, to getting in arguments with Philip DeFranco, Bill Burr, and Trisha Paytas, Ethan Klein is easily one of the most divisive men on the internet, making him and his brand extremely confusing to understand. I think the best example of how confusing this all is his controversy with Trisha Paytas and his Frenemies podcast. Frenemies was a YouTube podcast hosted by H3H3's Ethan Klein and fellow YouTuber Trisha Paytas. The podcast was first launched in September 2019 and quickly gained a devoted following due to the chemistry between the two hosts. The podcast was notable for its unscripted and raw style, as well as for its frank and sometimes controversial discussions of topics ranging from mental health to celebrity gossip. Many fans were drawn to the show because of the dynamic between Ethan and Trisha. Ethan and Trisha often clashed, but also had moments of genuine friendship and support. Throughout its run, Frenemies faced several controversies, including allegations of bullying and mistreatment on set. Some fans accused Trisha of being difficult to work with and causing unnecessary drama, while others criticized Ethan for not doing enough to address Trisha's behavior. Despite these controversies, the podcast continued to be hugely popular, with each episode receiving millions of views. Now, I think we need to pause here and discuss something extremely important to YouTube's subculture: hate watching. Now, hate watching is the act of watching a TV show, movie, or any other form of media that one dislikes or finds frustrating. People who engage in hate watching often do so for a variety of reasons, such as to criticize or mock the content, to stay informed about popular culture, or to bond with others who share their opinions. Hate watching has become increasingly popular in recent years. Many people use platforms like Twitter and Reddit to share their thoughts and opinions about the media that they are watching, often using humor or sarcasm to express their dislike or frustration, and things are really no different on YouTube. Overall, hate watching is a complex and often contradictory phenomenon, since you might watch a video with 2 million views and think, why would anyone watch this? This is so cringe, unfunny, and maybe borderline offensive. But the truth is, out of those 2 million people watching, maybe 50% of them are hate watching. You never know. And you might see where I'm already going with this, but Frenemies was easily one of the most hate-watched things on the internet. Now, I can't speak on what percentage of people hate-watched this content, but it's no secret people chimed into the show to watch things become controversial and messy. Okay, back to our regular scheduled programming. After many controversies, disagreements, and arguments between the two hosts, the situation eventually reached a breaking point in 2021 when Trisha announced that they would be leaving the show. Trisha cited a number of reasons for their departure, including disagreements with Ethan over the creative direction of the show and ongoing conflicts with members of the H3H3 production team. Following Trisha's departure, Ethan released a statement in which he expressed regret for how the situation had unfolded and praised Trisha for her contributions on the show. He also announced that Frenemies would be going on an indefinite hiatus and that he would be focusing on other projects for the time being. Despite the drama and controversy surrounding the podcast, Frenemies remains a beloved part of H3H3's legacy, and many fans continue to look back on the show with fondness and nostalgia. Whether you're a fan of H3H3 or not, there is no denying that this subculture has had an impact like no other on the world of online entertainment and the way that people engage with pop culture. Gus Johnson is a comedian and internet personality who grew up in a small town in northern Wisconsin. Gus first gained popularity on YouTube for his humorous skits, vlogs, and commentary videos. He is known for his unique style of comedy, which often includes absurd and surreal humor.
Today we're gonna go out on the town and I'm gonna get a whole buttload of Subway sandwiches, all with jalapenos, and we will count together how many sandwiches have stems in them.
Eddie Burback is a comedian and internet personality who grew up in Illinois. Eddie first gained popularity on YouTube for his commentary and comedy videos in which he poked fun at internet culture and trends, and he still does this today. He is known for his quick wit and dry humor, and his videos often include pop culture references and satire.
3-week road trip to hit every single rainforest cafe in the country and Canada.
Gus and Eddie met in college and became friends and collaborated extensively with each other. In September 2017, they started a podcast titled The Gus and Eddie Podcast. The following year, in 2018, the pair moved to LA in the summer, and they continued to work together. Now, during this time, Gus and Eddie started collaborating with tons of other content creators. This group included YouTubers like Nakey Jakey, Drew Gooden, Chris Reagan, and tons of others. Now, at this time, Gus started dating somebody called Abelina Sabrina. Abelina Sabrina was born in LA, where she live streamed on Twitch, where now she has 30,000 subscribers and almost 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. Abelina was featured on a few of Gus's videos back then, as was he on her channel. In October 2021, Gus announced the end of his relationship with Abelina. A few weeks later, Abelina released a YouTube video in which she detailed alleged abusive behavior by an unidentified ex-boyfriend, later revealed to be Gus. She described going through an ectopic pregnancy, during which he told her to get an abortion and threatened to break up with her if she did not. Abelina claimed that Gus went out drinking instead of staying by her side while she underwent surgery for the ectopic pregnancy, despite the surgery having a possibility of being fatal. Following the video, Johnson's longtime collaborator and roommate, Eddie Burback, announced that he would be cutting all ties with Johnson. Gus later released an apology video, but you see, this is where things get complicated. This caused a schism in this YouTube subculture. Many people cut all ties with Gus like Eddie did, but not everyone. In fact, to this day, he still collaborates with channels like Ian Kung, Sir Spence, and many others. And that's where things from an outside viewer or an audience perspective can be confusing. For example, Sir Spence just collaborated with Gus, but he was at Creator Clash where Abelina Sabrina was fighting. Additionally, Eddie and Sabrina still follow Ian Kung on Twitter, even though he collaborates with Gus pretty much all the time. He's probably one of his most popular guests other than his brother. So you have these subcultures fragmented, and it's almost impossible to see who stands with who. And some people to this day still demand that these big creators make some kind of public statement to either disavow Gus or show support for him, and I just think that that's totally unfair for these creators. These creators have their own personal lives and are entitled to their own feelings and opinions towards each other. And I'll cover this more later in the video, but this is exactly why there's a major problem with YouTube subculture and why it's a confusing mess. People want to believe they are part of these groups because they watch their videos and perhaps even watch them blow up. But there's a massive, massive difference between having a parasocial relationship and a real one. The same rule applies with collaboration in Hollywood. Actors act in movies all the time together, and they may or may not like each other. For YouTube, it's the same thing. If person A creates a video and invites person B, C, and D to join the video, it doesn't necessarily mean that person B and C are friends or are even on good terms. And events like the Creator Clash are the same. Ian Carter, aka iDubbbz, has been creating YouTube videos since 2012. There's not much that hasn't already been said about this guy. As of today, his channel has amassed over 7 million subscribers. His videos feature a range of content, including comedy skits, vlogs, and even documentaries. He is the creator of Creator Clash, and one of the most influential YouTubers to ever exist. We really have to divide iDubbbz subculture within a timeline. Back in the day, Ian collaborated with many different YouTubers like MaxMofo, Filthy Frank, H3H3, and HowToBasic. Ian used to make really unique content. Not saying he doesn't make unique content now, but his old content was really different. It's hard to explain to someone what style of content he created without witnessing it. But essentially, a lot of what you could describe it as would be edgelord or dark humor. To this day, he regrets creating a lot of that style of content.
I don't feel like a lot of this content represents me as a person, at least not anymore. There was a time where it probably perfectly represented me because I was a nasty, apathetic, insecure person. Now that I don't feel like it represents me and I want to distance myself from it.
Over the last few years, he has shifted his style of content into less controversial topics. But during that time, Ian generated a lot of unwanted fans, creating one of the most complex YouTube subcultures to ever exist.
Well, I think people have the same problem with me. Is it the same problem with you? Is that we both used to be like edgy comedians and we were a part of the larger commentary community. And as we've aged, we've realized that, you want to conduct yourself differently.
Because Ian created content around taboo topics, he attracted a mixed bag of viewers. Some thought his humor using racial or offensive slurs were hilarious. Others found them unfunny, and then others, to circle back to the H3H3's frenemies hate watching content, some viewers just tuned in because they wanted to be informed about the latest controversy or drama surrounding Ian and who he collaborated with. For example, the episode where Ian and Anthony from H3H3 went on Ethan's podcast and discussed the use of certain racial slurs. Sure, many people watch just being regular fans of their content, but there's no denying once word got around of the controversial nature of the episode, it exploded with viewers. Now, despite these controversies, iDubbbz remained and remains a popular and influential figure in the online community, and his content continues to attract millions of views and engagement from fans and critics alike. Which leads us to 2012. A few years ago, Ian and his wife Anita created something called the Creator Clash, a YouTube boxing event where your favorite content creators would fight for charity. In principle, a fantastic idea and something that has seen a wide range of success. But more on the event later. During this time, iDubbbz put out a documentary covering a controversial comedian called Sam Hyde.
She's been on drugs since before she met me, so if you're implying that I've driven her to drug use, you are incorrect.
Okay.
Sam Hyde is like iDubbbz in 2017. That old edgelord dark humor stuff that Ian stopped doing, Sam still does. Sam Hyde is like if iDubbbz kept getting edgier and didn't stop. To put it in plain and simple terms, Sam is incredibly controversial. I can pretty much guarantee if you already know who Sam is, you already have a strong opinion about him. You might think he's the funniest person alive or the absolute worst. Regardless of your viewpoint, you have to acknowledge that he's probably one of the most controversial influencers on the internet. Well, back in February 2022, iDubbbz released a documentary covering Sam Hyde called Getting Away With It. It was pretty well received, and if you've never watched it, I'd recommend you do after this video. The brief synopsis, without any spoilers, is Ian travels to visit Sam Hyde to interview him. It's pretty chaotic and just an incredible, unique look at trying to understand a person like Sam Hyde. During the documentary, Sam felt like Ian was trying to punk him and expose him in some sinister way. Sam Hyde also released his own version of the documentary a month before with success as well. Initially, when Ian's documentary came out, many of Ian's fans praised the documentary. Afterwards, though, there was a divide that started to exist between iDubbbz fans and his subculture. Behind the scenes, tension brewed between the two creators. Sam claimed Creator Clash, Ian's boxing event, was inspired by Ian's time spent with Sam.
I mean, I'm the guy that, iDubbbz, would you say that I inspired your boxing career?
No, you did not.
Sam wanted to fight in the event, but Ian and his wife claimed they'd lose potential advertisers if they had him on the card. And really the situation just got worse from here. Soon after, Sam and Ian's relationship pretty much crumbled. Now this video is not designed to be a hit piece or drama documentary on Ian, Sam, or any of the creators that I talked about today. If you want a full documentary on any of these content creators, plenty already exist. I wanted to create this commentary on why this, from a fan and viewer perspective, is super confusing. Sam and Ian's older content are extremely similar. These subcultures at one point coexisted, but now do not. If a new viewer stumbles upon some of Ian's older videos and enjoys them, and also enjoys Sam Hyde and finds out they at once collaborated together, but now hate each other, it can be super confusing. And the same can be said about Ethan and Trisha, Gus and Eddie, Ian and Anthony, all completely different examples, but all as equally confusing from a fan's perspective. Which makes me wonder, is it better to be ignorant to all of this and just enjoy the content? Imagine your friend just discovered Gus Johnson and becomes obsessed with his content. And later he finds Eddie Burback and enjoys his content too. If he hasn't watched an hour-long YouTube deep dive on their YouTube subculture breakup, is it even worth mentioning to him? Both creators still make successful and well-received content and get millions of views. Why is it so hard to track all of these YouTube subcultures? Does it even matter? Do fans care too much? On Saturday, April 15th, 2023, the second annual Creator Clash took place at Amalia Arena in Tampa, Florida. The event featured numerous fights between some of the biggest names in the online content creation world. Thousands of people packed into an arena to watch some of their favorite content creators fight. This is peak YouTube subculture. Now, even though I consider myself somewhat of an expert on YouTube subculture, walking into the arena, I asked myself many times, who are these people? Why does A and B have beef? Who do I root for? And should I even care? From a fighting perspective, we had fighters like Alex Wasabi, iDubbbz, Jarvis Johnson, Aaron Hansen, Elena Pierce, Abelina Sabrina, Starkiller from the H3H3 podcast, and more. The whole influencer boxing thing has grown and keeps growing, and is quite possibly the most insane thing ever, but that's for another video. Truly, the list of fighters was stacked. Creator Clash was the first ever in-person influencer event I ever attended, and I would definitely describe many aspects of it as awkward. Fans were approaching creators in their seats, asking for selfies in the middle of fights. Security was pretty mild regarding that. You could literally walk up to anybody if you wanted to, and people did. There was this VIP area where only people with these lanyards were able to go, but the whole bottom part of the arena was open to anyone. Personally, I think it would have made more sense if the area was blocked off, but maybe the organizers thought it was okay for fans to just run up to people in the middle of fights. So I don't know. I mean, the situation was just weird and at times felt sometimes awkward. I've heard things being strange like this at VidCon and whatnot, but I've never really witnessed it firsthand. During the fights, a lot of chants broke out rooting for each creator and their retrospective subculture, which I thought was pretty cool. From a casual viewer perspective, it really was a fun and unique experience, just at sometimes a little bit too hard to follow. Ultimately, I think Creator Clash was a success. After all, they raised lots of money for charity, and I think things like Creator Clash actually highlight the positives of these YouTube subcultures. While it may be confusing and hard to follow certain relationships, stories, and who knows who from a viewing perspective, if you just take a deep breath and enjoy the content for what it is, a lot of fun and enjoyment can be had. And I think the same can be said about YouTube and subcultures as a whole. In the beginning, I asked, how do we fix this? And I don't think we do. Each creator is their own person. They're going to make mistakes, friends, and enemies. I think we, as fans, just enjoy the content. I don't think it's healthy to be angry or so passionate about something in a negative way that we really have no control over. Sure, if a creator does something you don't like, don't watch them. But it's not your job or mission to fight for one side or another. That's just not healthy when it comes to parasocial relationships. Sure, it can be fun to say you supported Team Jacob over Team Edward over things in a fictional universe. Or it could be fun to root for your favorite sports team against maybe your best friends. But ranting on Twitter or YouTube comments about a content creator you'll never meet who lives their own life and at the end of the day will make their own decisions is pointless. And I'm not saying this to discredit criticism when it's due. If someone says something you disagree with, by all means, feel free to talk about it. But for the sake of YouTube and its viewers, can we please just enjoy the content? We live in an amazing time where in a few seconds, you can watch hours of content from thousands of different creators, basically for free. So yes, YouTube and its subcultures may always be a confusing mess, but at least we have that mess in the first place. To me, I couldn't imagine my life without some of the content creators I've followed over the years. Bonding with people over YouTubers is how I made many friends growing up, and I can't imagine that will change for newer generations. So while yes, YouTube subculture is a confusing mess, I'm happy to be a part of it, and hopefully so are you.